All right. Some bio after and all that
Love
stuff.
it.
We'll just dive right in. Alexa, welcome to the show.
I'm so here for this.
I can't wait. I'm so excited to dig in and talk about all things pleasure and chocolate. You know, pleasure is my word of the year. It's play, pleasure, and celebration. So, hallelujah.
Oh my God. Well, after 2020, if it's not pleasure and satisfaction and all of those like glittery, gorgeous things, then like, I don't know what your 2020 was, but like, holy shit.
Oh my God. I feel like I had like 2 tracks in 2020. In one regard, it was one of the best years for me. And then in another regard, I wanted to cry every day. You know, it was like this double thing that was happening.
We love the dichotomy. We love
the dichotomy. It's where the juice is, you know? I want to laugh and cry at the same time.
It's the best types of laughter is when you cry. Best type of crying is when you laugh. So
hey, check that out. Bada bing, bada bam. I like it. I like it. All right, Home Slice, you are a beacon of light in this world. So go ahead and just share with my amazing who you are, where you came from, what's your jam, and what lights you up today.
I'm so stoked. Well, first of all, just again, thank you so much for having me. And your energy through the screen is like beaming like beauty out. So thank you. So yeah, my name is Alexa Silvaggio. Silvaggio means savage in Italian. So I actually own a chocolate brand. Yes, we put it together.
Making sense now. Okay.
Yes. So I own a mindfulness chocolate brand that encourages us all to cultivate a more loving relationship to our body and to food through mindfulness. Really. I struggled for years. I used to be a Broadway actress. I struggled with anorexia for a lot of my life. And basically that's what got me to the yoga practice, the mindfulness practice in general, meditation, breath work, all of these modalities that were so incredibly potent and powerful. But I found this, like I was saying to you just a moment ago, like I found this weird juxtaposition where like we'd be on the mat or on the cushion or, you know, just lying down doing our practice. And it was like, oh, I'm embodied. Oh, I'm present. Oh, and then you get out in the world and it's like, whoop, and somehow there's like some sort of evaporation of that wisdom, particularly around the things that activate us, like food or like sex or like alcohol. Like we just can go unconscious. And my kryptonite was unconscious eating or unconscious not eating, which are the same thing. So I created Savage as a means to teach us and invite us to eat with mindfulness, with presence, with compassion, and also to give ourselves something that is healthy yet pleasurable, because I find that we are so deprived and so starved in this culture for actual receptivity, like for actually receiving our pleasure. You know, we've all like gotten to the bottom of our ice cream bowl and been like, oh shit, did I just eat that whole thing? You know, and it's like, we didn't even get to do it. We didn't even get to experience it because we were just kind of going through the motions versus like what you teach of embodiment. And so I just wanted people to have another tool. And so through the packaging, I just remind us to pause, breathe, and savor every bite. And then if that's not enough, there's a QR code on each bar that leads us to a 1-minute mindfulness eating meditation. So if you're like, I don't know, yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, here, hold on. I'll teach you how to do it. We need these tools. We need these reminders all the time. That's why it's a practice. It's not a performance. It's like a daily practice.
I love this so much. It's so interesting when we can. So I go to this energy school. It's like Hogwarts kind of, and it's rad. It's like this 18-year program and
badass,
all about energy. It's so rad. It like pushes my limits in every single way. You know, it's just like, there's times where I'm like, fuck, can we actually do that energetically? And it's like, yeah, we can. And so my mind is like, meow. But anyway, one of the last labs that we did, where we had chocolate, and what we did was we shifted our energy from like structured mind, logical mind, into more of like a soft mind, that kind of like feeling after yoga, into like complete embodiment. And then we ate the chocolate in those different energetic states,
shit.
and it was like,
Yes.
holy shit. Like by the time I got to embodied awareness, where there was no mind, I was so in my body, I was feeling energetically the aliveness of everything, and then I ate the chocolate from that place. I was like, I had an orgasm just from eating chocolate.
Chocolate. Isn't that, yeah. Like pleasure doesn't have to be like a vacation to Italy. Like it can just be a bite of chocolate done well.
Ooh.
You know, or like a conversation done well, like with embodiment, with presence. It doesn't have to be this like big deal. We don't have to save it up. Like, ooh, constrict. And then like, okay, I'm going to Hawaii. Like it's everything.
Totally. I was interviewing Kyla Fox on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how binge, purge, and restrict shows up everywhere in life, right? Everywhere. And it really is that of like, why are we withholding our pleasure for like that one day to like enjoy it, and then okay, I'm gonna go back into survival mode. Why are we living like that?
Why are we living like that? And when we go to that place of like, this one day I can do it, we're usually like not that present for it anymore.
So true.
We're like hurrying through it. We're like, oh, I got to get it all because like this is the one day I can have it.
Yeah, like wedding, like people's wedding days.
Exactly. Oh yeah. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Like the bride and groom do not enjoy it. Like they're just trying to make sure everyone else is having a good time.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating how we can shift our reality by just going deeper, by just embodiment. Like we can do the most mundane frigging thing. And if we are showing up to it with a more embodied energy, with pure presence, it's we can create heaven on earth. We can do that.
Thank you, girl. Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what it's all about. It's like we weren't, there was that meme going around forever that was like, we aren't born to just wake up, pay bills and die. Like, but the truth is, like, as kitschy and kind of banal that meme is, like, a lot of people really do live in that reality where like they're waiting to live until they like get that thing over there, or they wait to live until they're in the relationship, or they wait to live until they're on that vacation, or they wait to live. And it's like, oh, wait, hold on. This is your life. Like it's happening right now, actually. Like it doesn't begin in 20 minutes or in 20 years. This is it.
So if we were to break that down for people and give them tangible tools of how to really create that in the mundane, how do you do that? How do you show up to that in your life?
Beautiful. Several tools. These embodiment practices that you teach, that I teach, of slowing down. I really think that's the kicker. Like when we are spending so much time running, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally, outrunning whatever is, whenever we're spending time trying to avoid pain, because the opposite of pain isn't pleasure. The opposite of pain is acceptance. So if we can just accept where we are and accept this moment, then we get to fully experience what is. And I will say that getting present, getting in that state of embodiment is available to us. All it takes is like 1 minute of breathing, or all it takes is noticing what's in front of you. Like if you have the gift of sight, actually taking in what's in front of you. If you're actually with somebody, feel your butt in the seat and actually like, oh yeah, okay, I'm sitting on a wood chair. My right shoulder is a little bit higher than my left. Okay, God, my jaw is clenched. Let me see if I can just untie that knot, and just becoming aware of our physical body, so that when we actually consume something, or when we're taking in something like a sunset or a kiss, we can actually experience it because we are in our body. I feel like most of us live like 5 feet outside of our body. And these tools and these practices that get us back into our body give us the permission slip that we need for pleasure. And
permission slip for pleasure.
Permission slip, baby. We love the alliterations. also trusting ourselves. Like for the longest time, I didn't allow myself to have pleasure because I didn't trust myself enough that if I were to receive it, it's like I had this unconscious fear that was like, oh, if I allow myself to feel good, then I'm never going to work again.
You're never going to work again. Tell me more about that.
Like, I'm never going to like, oh, if I, like, this was my old belief system. Like, oh, if I allow myself to take a day off from the gym, then I'm never going to go back to the gym.
Got it.
Cause like, it's like, I don't trust that, like, I'll take care of myself. Like, I don't trust that I'm like, that I have the stability to receive the pleasure without also holding space for the dichotomy of that.
Sure.
And that's the reality too, is that the way that we experience pleasure is by allowing ourselves to feel its opposite. And if we are, it's like Brene Brown says, like, you can't selectively numb sensations. And so if we're consistently numbing out our discomfort, if we're consistently numbing out the sensations that we've deemed unacceptable, then our pleasure is dulled as well. It doesn't work. There's just no selective numbing. That's all there is to it. And trusting that we'll be okay, and in our body for the discomfort, that we'll survive the hard stuff. My mother just passed away 3 months ago, and it's been brutal. It's been like totally brutal, but it's also been beautiful because I have now survived the thing that I actually didn't know for sure that I would. And trusting myself in being able to sit with that discomfort, like the extremes have been so much more profound. Like the joys have actually gotten higher. Like the peaks have indeed gotten higher as the sorrow has gotten deeper. But it's because I've allowed myself to experience them both, held space for them both.
Wow, babe. Thank you so much for sharing that.
God, thank you.
That feels like my worst nightmare for sure. And I've also had those thoughts of like, oh my God, if that ever happened. Can you hear that?
What is it? No.
It's like a fucking thing outside. It's like our gardeners or something. Anyways, Caroline just
it's probably my mom. She's like a bird. She's like squawking out there. Yeah. She's like, I'm right here. Yeah.
Yeah. The thought of my mom not being on this planet, like, is my worst nightmare, like, truly. And so thank you for sharing that. And I think it's one of these things where, like, we got to believe, and it's so true that people's physical bodies leave the planet, but energetically she's here. Yeah.
Every day. I connect to her so deeply and so wholeheartedly all the time. She's in everything. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I'm not grieving still.
Of course.
But to know, and that's part of the embodiment piece and the eating disorder piece, is to know that this body is a vehicle, not an ornament. This body is our, like, the chariot of our spirit. It's not the thing to obsess over or to deprive or to overconsume. It's this thing to just treat well. When we really see it, and I was in the room when my mother passed, I was the only one there. And to physically see the difference between a person with life force in them and a person without life force in them in a moment, it was like, oh, like, I've always known on a cognitive level, like, oh, I'm not my body. But then to see my favorite person on the planet, my apartment, she was literally my apartment for the first 10 months of life. It's like, she's my conduit to this planet. Like, to see her leave her body, it's like, oh, this is really a shell. This is a shell. It's a beautiful shell.
How did that shape your relationship to your own death?
Totally. And I'm a Scorpio, so I already am like my phrase, and I don't say this like half-heartedly. I say this like genuinely, like, oh, well, might as well do it. We're all going to die anyway. Like, truly. And I don't say that to be morbid. I say that to be like, fuck it, let's go. I of course, have fear around mortality, not because of the mortality, but because of the pain that's involved. I find that, you know, like for me personally, and I know in my point of view, we're all here to live a life on purpose. We're all here to do something, potentially serve in some way. Do I think that I am done? No, I don't. So I have that fear around mortality in the sense where I'm like, wait, I have stuff I still want to do, but the world happens on the world's terms. And so I'm in a place of accepting that when this body is done, this body is done. And I also do not fear where I will go. You know, I think I was listening to Aubrey Marcus talk recently. He said, ashes to ashes and dust to dust, but who we really are does not combust. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like this body's going to drop, is cocooned. It's like you cocoon and then you go away. And so while I'm not in any hurry, it certainly has turned the volume down on fear around my own mortality.
Thanks for sharing that, babe. That's so interesting. I recently, some really close people in my life have come like near to their death.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like one was a car accident, one was cancer.
Fuck.
One was an aneurysm, and like I've been having so many conversations with my dear friends about death, and they're like, Sam, it's now helping me live more. You know, it's helping me live more, and like knock on freaking wood. Like, I don't want to come close to my death, but how can we take a little bit of that medicine to go, oh, well, life is so precious. Let's fucking express and let it go and live out our soul's curriculum, leave it all on the friggin' table.
Go off, queen. Yes. I will say that the last week of my mother's life was the most alive I ever saw her.
Really?
And it was not because she could do it. My mom was a professional ballroom dancer growing up. It's not because she was active. She was so present.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was forsaken. Everything was savored. Because it was like the mantra all of a sudden became, oh, this is it. Oh, this is it. Like, I just shared this story recently, and it brings up some stuff for me, obviously. The day before my mother died, she was still able to get around, which was amazing. My mom had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and she lived in a home, and she died at home, and she was on the second story in her bedroom, and she was like, I really want to go outside. And it was early in the morning. It was like 6 a.m. And I, of course, was awake because I do my practices early and do all the things. And so I was with her. I was the only one that was awake. And she was like, I really want to go outside. And I was like, I don't really feel safe getting you down the stairs on my own. Can we wait until other people get up so that we can get you down the stairs safely? And what I'll do is we'll put you by the window. We'll open the window nice and wide, and I'll get your good china. We'll just sit by the window and drink coffee together. And the image of my mother sitting by the window, feeling the breeze on her skin and drinking coffee out of her Wedgwood china, it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
And it was not extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was so fucking ordinary. But I can't get the vision out of my mind's eye. It's like the most sacred thing. She knew it was hitting the very next morning at about that time of 7 a.m. that she died the next morning. And I've never seen anything so exquisite.
Oh my gosh. I just got this image of that in a painting.
Yes.
Imagine if you got a painting
Totally.
done of your mom in that moment. Oh,
I think I should.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just gave me a gift. Thank you. I'm going to do that.
That.
Yeah.
Oh. Beautiful. Yeah. It's it goes back to what we talked about already. Like, how can we create heaven on earth literally in these moments by bringing more presence, more awareness?
Like
How can we the savoring. How can we just have this acceptance of our own death so that we can actually start living?
Yes. Well, and that was a huge part. That was such a huge part of my mother's experience is, my mother practiced everything from Qigong to, she did every modality that one could do. We traveled to Mexico and did ozone therapy. She had to do chemo because they caught it so late. And, but she did we saw like every healer. She did, we did ayahuasca together, like the whole shebang. And that was a huge part of her acceptance around her passing was actually microdosing psilocybin. And that was very, very powerful for her because she was able to stay completely conscious. She was able to be out of as much pain as possible. And she was able to have every conscious conversation that she needed to have before she passed. She literally had one-on-ones with each of us saying, some of the conversations were like real fucking uncomfortable. like my mom and my dad are divorced, but my dad is still very much in our lives. And she, like the conversation they had was like so next level. I was like, ooh. But it was like, she really did it. Like she got to say, and if anyone is not familiar with psychedelics, that's okay. It's not everyone's path. I don't condone it. I think it's, I personally have gotten a lot of benefits from them. But if you're like, that's not for me, then that's not for you. That's fine. But it certainly was a very pivotal part in my mother's acceptance of her own mortality. She died. The day before she died, she looked at me, just said, "I'm just not afraid."
Wow.
And that was like, are you fucking serious? Like if nothing else, like that is the biggest gift she could have given me, to tell me that she wasn't afraid before she died.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. These plants are here for us. They're here to awaken us. And then some idiot made them illegal.
Some dum-dum. I'm like, what are you thinking? Well, there's a lot of money to be made when they're not around. So.
Right. And that's changing though, as the world is waking up and we're realizing that big pharma is fucking us. And actually there's natural medicines here for us to awaken us and bring us back into our bodies. Yes, we're going to see the difference, we're going to see it. And again, to your point, it's not everyone's path. I believe that we can reach those states through breath work. Obviously, you are your own drug. Hello. However, there are a time and place for plant medicine. I shared my ayahuasca journey on the show. I've shared my mushroom journeys on the podcast. And beautiful. I have personally found so much value in them, and there was, I did this experiment probably like 4 years ago where I microdosed every single day for 30 days. Beautiful. And I look back on that time as a dramatic shift in coming home to myself. It was when I was like overcoming my eating disorder. And mushrooms helped me feel again, mushrooms, breath work did the thing, but then mushrooms helped me like understand that there's deeper and deeper levels. Like breath work was like okay, you're now in your body, let's go. And then experimenting with microdosing mushrooms was an avenue that just helped me deepen and stabilize and deepen and stabilize and deepen and stabilize.
I could not agree more. And my journey is similar to yours.
Are we the same person? Are we the same person?
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, girl, maybe we should like play.
Do you want to come over to my house and hang out with me?
I'll bring chocolate.
Yes.
And mushrooms.
Oh my God. Yeah, actually though. Or chocolate mushrooms.
Well,
the Savage put mushrooms in their chocolate.
Maybe in the future they will.
Okay, sign me up. Send me that care package.
I got you, girl. I got you.
Tell me about your first experience with breath work.
Oh my goodness. Oh God. I think my first experience with breath work was, I studied pranayama in New York with a man named Yogi Charu, who's amazing and wonderful. So those breathing techniques were super powerful. But my first experience with holotropic breath work was actually here in LA at a place called Unplug. meditation. And I actually ended up teaching there. But that was the first breathwork class I ever took. And I remember it was a 45-minute holotropic breathwork session. I didn't understand what was happening fully, but I was sobbing uncontrollably. I had just gone through heartbreak. So I was just like full sob and totally in my body and able to sit with the sob, which I hadn't allowed myself yet. And I was just, I walked out of there and I like needed a minute. Like I was like, everyone go the fuck away. Like I need to like figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
And then I took it to I talked to my therapist about it and I was like, what is going on? It was one of the most powerful practices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would hold it up to mushrooms. I would hold it up to ayahuasca. It's a different version, of course, but as far as actually allowing myself to be with what is, to let what is living in me come forward and hold space for that in an embodied way. Because again, if we want to heal it, we've got to feel it. Mm-hmm. It's like, it actually gave me permission to do that. And I think it was Dr. Wayne Dyer that said like, okay, if you cut an orange and you squeeze it, what do you get? You get orange juice. So like what happens when life squeezes you? What comes out? And it's like breath work showed me that like, it's going to bring out what's living in me. And what was living in me that day was a lot of heartbreak. Yeah. And I just kept going back.
I think it's so beautiful that as soon as we just let the body do its thing, we have the experience that we need to have. And that's so beyond of trying to figure that out. And it's just so present. It's so easy to identify that when we're not so fixated on the mind.
I love being in the body. It's so good.
It is. It really is. It's like, holy shit, this is a whole new experience. And feeling the contrast of being super numbed out, having eating disorders. Obviously, you and I both went through that. Yes. To now, I'm like, what happened? What, like, how? Yeah. How was I so numbed out for so long?
What was can I ask you what your first breathwork experience was like and what type was it?
Yeah. So it was in Bali and yeah, I was in Bali and it was a 3-hour holotropic style class.
3 hours.
3 hours. I don't know why they do. I don't know why they do that. It's crazy. It was my first time. And I always tell people now, like, God, fucking go slow, open up that window of tolerance slowly. We don't want to re-traumatize people because it's actually, and I believe it's unsafe if we just fucking rip it open without any, like, you know, they didn't ask me if I had suppressed trauma. They didn't ask, like, that could have been a situation of like really re-traumatizing me. But anyways, I didn't, thank God. But it was 3 hours and I went through like the entire spectrum of emotion, like the highest states of like joy, bliss, like actual self-love, you know, and then like fear and like release and like, like I like shed, like I too was going through a hard breakup. And so I shed all of this like pain. Yeah. Yeah. I was dating this guy for 5 years and I thought I was going to marry him. And turns out that he was doing drugs at the time. And I'm like, okay, I'm done this. I broke up with him, but I just pretended everything was awesome because I was really good at wearing the everything is awesome mask. And I'm like, everything is awesome. And then like years later, I'm like, oh, it's not awesome.
It's not awesome at all. Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
So I grieved that breakup and I woke up from that experience and, you know, time collapses in those moments, right? When we're so deeply immersed. And I woke up and I was just like, why does the world not know how to do this? This is insane. And I had no idea that I would create pause breathwork and go on this journey. Wow. That happened like 7 years later. I created pause 7 years later, but yeah, it was just wild. So I used it to heal my eating disorder, to reconnect into my body. I started teaching it at my retreats. I started training and just being a student of it. And then after I'm like, we need to blow up the world with this. Let's go.
Can we please? Like,
and that's what we're doing.
Yes, sister. I mean, it's so, and that is the thing. And I don't say this from like a hierarchical place, like, oh, better or worse. I say it from like, I genuinely don't know how people do their life without these practices because the amount of like life is tough. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
like no bad days thing. I'm like, can we all not even
Yeah.
ever say that
Or
again?
like high vibes only. No, fuck
Yeah.
that.
No, fuck that noise. Like that's noise. And
Mm.
like, can we just have better tools for processing the bad days and have better tools for processing the good days too? Because again,
Mhm.
those extremes are real. Like how do we do it without these tools? I don't know how people do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was driving home from Sedona on Sunday with a few girlfriends, and
Gorgeous.
was that it's so
Gorgeous.
nice. It's so nice there. Busy, like crazy busy on the weekends though. Like everyone go home. I'm gonna go back on a Tuesday.
Everyone go home. LOL.
When I like take trips into nature, like I just love like when there's minimal humans, you know?
Yes.
Like Eric and I love
Absolutely.
Idlewilds. Do you ever do Idlewilds?
It's been forever, but yes, I've been to Idlewild.
Yo,
Gorge.
it's super close to you. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were driving home from Sedona and just talking about personal development and all the stuff that we talk about. And I literally said that to them. I'm like, how are people living right now without these tools, especially after last year? God.
Exactly. Exactly. And, everyone's talking about this kind of collective trauma, that happened in 2020. Even if it was a great year, like it still was a shift, and a shift in an unexpected way. It was like, okay, wait, hold on. This way of doing it isn't it anymore. So we're going to shift. It's like that. There is trauma there. Anytime there's a big like
Impact.
pivot, and digesting that is serious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's insane. It's like our body, we're emotionally constipated. Our bodies are holding just so much.
Yes.
We just need to take a gigantic shit. Emotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Breathe and shit it out.
Oh my God. I read this thing in a bathroom the other day and it said, it's all shits and giggles until someone giggles and shits.
Oh, that's genius.
I know, it's good, right?
That's great. That should be on every stall.
I kind of want to make a shirt out of it. Would you wear it with me if I made them?
If it was cute, I would.
Let's talk about practices, pleasure practices. Let's
Yes.
give our peeps some like tangible pleasure practices that they can do today to start to really get in the energetics of like feeling good.
I love it. So a few, first of all, I find and this is coming from a person who was once severely eating disordered. Food is supposed to be pleasure. Food is supposed to be enjoyed. Food is supposed to be savored and experienced. So notice if you're rushing through your meals. Notice if you're rushing through even a cup of coffee, if you're rushing through whatever. See if you can slow your meals down and really experience them. Like you were talking about experiencing chocolate in that way, like take a raisin and literally just hold it in your mouth for like 30 seconds. And actually start to notice the details of it. Like notice the texture, notice the temperature, notice how it changes when you put it on different parts of your tongue. Starting to notice the details of the food that you're eating. Huge. Not to mention actually acknowledging the food that you're eating. So like before every meal, I take a moment. It's so cliche, but it's so real, guys. Taking a moment to bless the food, to bless all the people that had anything to do with getting it to you. Like if you bought it at a grocery store, like there was a farmer, hopefully, because you're eating things like that, that produced the food. Then there was a truck driver that got it to the store. And then there were handlers there that handled it. And then they put it on display and then the store sold it to you. So the checkout person also had to do with it. And then it was maybe the Uber driver that like drove you to the place. It's like, there's so many people, places and things that had to do with you actually having that food. So actually expressing ample gratitude can definitely bring pleasure, and acknowledging where that food came from is a huge tool for that. I actually love self-massage. So I will like just focusing on your head and your scalp, like massaging around your jaw and actually noticing how much tension is there, and just feeling yourself untie those internal knots. And then moving to the occipital ridge, which is that place where the scalp and the back of the neck come together, and just kind of taking your fingers across that ridge of the skull and feeling, oh, there's more tension on the left side than the right, or noticing the little details. And then taking the hands above the eyebrows and just giving a little bit of a massage there to the temples, and then rolling the temples around. Maybe taking some deep breaths. Yeah, just feeling everything start to soften. And then you can take your fingers, if it serves you, you're wearing a dreamy hat, so I wouldn't dare ask you to take that off, but you can just kind of take the fingers into the scalp and maybe give a little bit of a massage to the scalp. And then you can take your middle finger and your thumb of one hand and just grab that place between the thumb and the index finger and just press. Yeah. Just breathe into that. And then do the other hand, middle finger and thumb into that space between the thumb and the index finger. Just kind of grabbing that muscle. We do so much texting and typing, and these muscles are overworked. And then just dropping it. You can close your eyes for a moment and bring to mind how it is that you want to feel. You want to feel grounded or embodied. And then can you start to give your breath that quality for just a few moments? The quality of love, the quality of ease. Just absorbing that breath into the body, kind of like soil absorbs water, just soaking it in. And bringing to mind someone that you love. Maybe even placing a hand on the heart. Just feeling the texture of your shirt underneath you or your skin underneath. And just taking pleasure in the fact that you're worthy because you exist. Not because of something that you do or procure or how you show up in the world, but just because you breathe. And you can come back to the room by opening the eyes. But any of those little tiny moments, it doesn't take much. It doesn't have to be some big thing. Just really savor what is. Savor what is.
That's so beautiful, babe.
You are so beautiful. Thank you for holding such a beautiful space. It's such a gift.
So good. This is so good. It was so nice to meet you, connect with you.
Yes.
Hear all about you, talk about all the things.
I dig it. Well, I can't wait to have you on my podcast as well, so I can hear all the things. And also I'm grabbing your address so I can send you a care package.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah. Yes, mama.
Where can our listeners find you?
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram. I just literally 2 days ago started a TikTok. I've converted. And on both of those, I'm at savage.practices. And then savagelosangeles.com is where you can find access to online yoga and meditation. And of course, my chocolate. If you're down, it's paleo, it's vegan, it's sustainably packaged as well. So it's all the good stuff.
Amazing. Go get it. Go get it. I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and hung out with us today. This conversation was rad. I really liked it.
Girl, seriously, you're dope.
Let us know your favorite takeaway from this episode. Go and tag us, savage.practices, Samantha Skelly on Instagram, and we'll see you over on the gram. Bye for now, guys.